Hey there people, it's your favorite WeedleTwin, shocked to see an upload. Apologies for the lack of uploads as of late, but we are so back. Not only are reviving my channel, we are also reviving a series I started ages ago, where I use Monotype teams in VGC, but with a twist. I roleplay as a Paldean gym leader, so I do have my Monotype of choice, but I'm allowed one Pokemon who is an off-type, but they terrestrialize into my Monotype. So far in the series, we have done Rock and Water type, and I unintentionally did those in Kanto Gym Leader order, and so I decided to continue with that and go for Mono Electric. Despite the fact we have a Raichu on our team, we are not roleplaying as boring-ass Lieutenant Surge, because who really cares about him?
We really don't give a fuck.
Instead, we are roleplaying as the much more iconic Iono, the Electric Gym Leader from Paldea, who is also like a content creator and streamer, so we're basically collaborating. And since I'm roleplaying as Iono, I'm hoping that because she's so famous, that some of her popularity will rub off on me and my channel will get back on its 2 feet. So make sure to support that dream by leaving a like on the video and subscribing if you haven't already, and also comment on the question of the day. Since Monograss is next in this series, I'm curious what sort of strategies or Pokemon you'd want to see on a Monograss type team. You could even include the off type that terrestrializes into a grass type, as I'm curious to see what sort of ideas you have, and if it gets enough support and I see some potential, I might even use it in the next video. We'll see. But let's get into my team. So for those who have played Scarlet and Violet, you might remember that Iono's ace is actually a Mismagius, a ghost-type Pokemon, but she has the Levitate ability, and in combination with Tera Electric, she ends up with no weaknesses, so she's unkillable! Yeah, not with those base stats, sweetie, but I do love Iono's idea. Like, her clickbait idea was actually like iconic, so I decided to copy her homework a bit and use that sort of strategy, but on a Pokemon with a little more bulk, in Cresselia. So we're trying to make a Tera Electric unkillable Cresselia do work in VGC today. And the rest of my team is there to basically support the Cresselia. We do have this Raichu, who's actually a shiny that I found while taking a selfie for my Mono Rock type team, which is really funny. I just saw it in the background. I'm like, oh, that looks a little darker than usual. And that's because it was shiny. So I got a selfie shiny Raichu, and I really wanted to use it on this team for that reason. And we're also using this Iron Hands. Now, I did use this Iron Hands in my Tinkaton Ursaluna team, and make sure to check out that video if you haven't already. But this Iron Hands is special because I found it on one of my live streams by total accident, because I had no idea what shiny Iron Hands looked like because Scarlet and Violet just came out. Here, let's play Hariyama. I'm actually... Wait, that's shiny? Oh! Sorry. Oh,
drive reaction, please.
Let's go!
And it's adamant? I like how it's more gagged at the nature than the shiny itself. That's how you know I'm a competitive player. So not only did I find shiny Iron Hands by total mistake, I also realized that this Iron Hands was like a lot smaller compared to other Iron Hands, because I use them a lot in raids. A lot of people also use Iron Hands, so I would see like them side by side and see how much smaller my Iron Hands was compared to them. And so I remember that there's an NPC who checks the size of your Pokemon, and she said this Iron Hands is the skinniest of all Iron Hands she's ever seen, and gave them a mini mark, which I just thought it was super funny and iconic that not only did I find a shiny by mistake, I found the skinniest shiny Iron Hands. Like full odds too, because I didn't have a sandwich or shiny charm, so that's just really funny to me. And so I wanted to utilize that on this team as well. We also have Bellibolt as a niche support Pokemon on this team, and Iono also has one on her team, so I wanted to just utilize Bellibolt. And then we have Pincurchin. So Pincurchin is tired of the disrespect, y'all. Oh, I miss Tapu Koko. I can't wait for Miraidon to be legal in Regulation G. No, Pincurchin is just fine, and it actually has some very niche options that both Miraidon and Tapu Koko don't have themselves. So I really wanted to showcase Pincurchin, and because I'm using a Mono Electric team, I really do appreciate the electric terrain. And then we have the very, very broken Raging Bolt. Believe it or not, is the only Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet that learns Rising Voltage, and I figured I had to use it on this team because it's like the only time I'm going to be able to use like Rising Voltage. And then of course we have the Tera Electric Levitate Cresselia. Let's get into the battles. Hey, I saw you click that timestamp, but it's okay, I get it. I kind of rambled for a bit too long. My first opponent today is packing a sort of like bulky offense and setup sort of team because they have Sinistcha and Grimmsnarl to support, like Goldengo and Kingambit, which probably have Nasty Plot and Sword Stance respectively, and they have Hisuian Arcanine for Intimidate and then Iron Hands, which could be set up as well, but it's probably just Assault Vest and Fake Out to support their team while also providing some decent offensive pressure. So that was my thought process going into this first battle, And you already know I had to come through with the Cresselia trainer card, and there's Iono in the background as well, which I thought was a cute touch because I am role-playing as Iono after all. My opponent's going to lead off with Kingambussy and Sinistra, as I decide to lead off with my Raichu and my Pincurchin. A pretty passive lead, to be honest. My opponent could definitely take advantage of it here with like a Sword Stance Gambit. My opponent just goes for a Protect instead, just because they might be expecting like a Volt Tackle or something, or like some strong electric type attacks into it. And they also were probably expecting Fake Out, so good Protect on their part. I just go for the Fake Out and I go for the Discharge here just because I want to do some chip damage to Kingambit and the Sinistra, and also fish for a Para Chance just because I do have Cresselia in the back. I did not bring Iron Hands in this game because I'm stupid, and so I definitely need to weaken this Kingambit a bit before I can try to set up with Cresselia, as I am a Calm Mind offensive Cresselia. I'm sort of like them with like bulky and setup stuff, so it's like bulky setup versus bulky setup, which is kind of cool. Now I'm going to make a pretty greedy play, to be honest. I'm going to hard switch into my Cresselia, and we're going to activate our Electric Seed, giving us a defense increase. I figure even if they click Kowtow Cleave, I should be able to live, and they might just click Sword Stance anyway. They just click Sucker Punch for some reason, despite having like Speed Control and Trick Room. But I'm very grateful for that, as now I can go for the Acupressure into Cresselia, getting Evasion! Yes, we get an evasion increase on our Cresselia, and we're able to skinnily dodge that Scald. They try to redirect the Acupressure with Rage Powder, but that is not how that works, because Acupressure can only target yourself and your ally, so it cannot be redirected by Follow Me or Rage Powder, which is pretty cool. My opponent goes for the Iron Head here, as opposed to Kowtow Cleave. I am assuming they don't have Kowtow Cleave then, because like maybe their last move is Sword Stance. I'd rather run a Double Dark and Bolt Sucker Punch and Kowtow Cleave, to be honest. And if they had Kowtow Cleave here, they'd be able to guarantee hit my Cresselia because Kowtow Cleave ignores any evasion boosts you get. And I just keep clicking Acupressure here. I get a special attack increase this time, and I just go for the Lunar Blessing as well just to heal up any chip damage. I don't want to attack into a Sucker Punch, as I'm suspecting they don't have Kowtow Cleave, which is absolutely insane because a Kingambit without Kowtow Cleave is like a gay without reaction memes. Like, how do you function as a Kingambussy without your Kowtow Cleave? Right? Like, they just miss Iron Head here. I feel bad, but like, you should always run Kowtow Cleave with Kingambussy. There's no reason not to. I get running no Steel Stab is kind of like risky because of fairy types, but like, I don't know. If you're running like Sword Stance Kingambit, you definitely just want Double Dark, because the Steel is a little excessive when you have like teammates who can deal with fairy types and stuff. Because they have Golden Go, they literally have a Golden Go who can click Make It Rain, so I just feel like that's a little strange to have the Iron Head, but I'm not complaining. As now I'm going to switch out of my Pincurchin and bring in my Bellibolt just because I want to be able to reset the electric terrain. And speaking of electric, I'm going to Terastallize into an electric type now. I probably should have done it way earlier. If they revealed Kowtow Cleave, I would have clicked the Tera Electric immediately, but I figured I could hold on to it just for fun, and they go for Sucker Punch. We're able to take it neutrally and take it reasonably well. I can go for the Stored Power here and one-shot the Golden Go with all of those boosts from Acupressure and Calm Mind and Electric Seed. It just stacked up to be a one-shot into Golden Go. It's what they deserve. Golden Go is so annoying, especially in singles where it has like a monopoly on entry hazards. Look at my boosted Cresselia right now. She is so stacked, and my opponent realizes that because they concede. They run away, even though Kingambussy kind of walled me out, but I did have a way to hit it in Moonblast and other sort of stuff. But yeah, we're able to defeat our opponent thanks to the Acupressure Pincurchin and Cresselia combination. I'm glad I got to showcase the potential of Acupressure Pincurchin, and I thought it was just a really fun combo. Anyway, let's move on to the next battle. My next opponent today looks like they're using like a Howl, Gouging Fire, Kingambit sort of build. They also have Fluttermane and Rillaboom for like good Pokemon, Farigiraf to block priority, and then they have Ursaluna Blood Moon, who is a very big threat to this team as I am mono electric, and that thing can throw off some very strong ground type attacks, and it can also hit Cresselia really hard with Blood Moons, so I gotta be careful around that Blood Moon Ursaluna. Just Ursaluna and ground types in general are of course a very big threat to this mono electric team, but they decide to lead off with Kingambussy and the Gouging Fires. I decide to lead off with Raichu and Iron Hands the Teeny. I love this Iron Hand so much. The fact that I found this shiny by mistake and it also happened to be like the skinniest of all Iron Hands is just so iconic to me. They're going to go for a Burning Bulwark here with their Gouging Fire, and they're going to decide to go for Protect with Kingambit because they just like felt the Fake Out pressure, I suppose, which is kind of funny. and sort of understandable, because Iron Hands, at least protecting with Kingambit made some sense to me. I thought they'd go for Protect and Howl to give their Kingambit an attack increase, but instead they get me with the Burning Bulwark. I burn my Raichu, which is sort of like not big of a deal because I don't carry a Focus Sash. And now I just go for a Sword Stance. I get a free Sword Stance basically because they just let me. And unfortunately, I don't carry Encore on this Raichu. I did like when I first started using this team, but then I changed it to something a little more heat, which you'll see in a later battle. But anyway, I'm going to bring up my Pincurchin here, set up the Electric Terrain, which will not only increase my stab damage on electric, but we also activate Quark Drive, getting another attack increase. My opponent's going to go for a Breaking Swipe to reduce my damage output a little bit, which is totally understandable with the Gouging Fire, but it doesn't do too much damage because Iron Hands is super fat. They're going to take some Rocky Helmet Chip as well, which is really nice. And now I can go for the Supercell Slam into the Kingambussy, one-shotting it. I went for the Supercell Slam as opposed to Drain Punch because I thought they might go for a defensive Tera. Supercell Slam covers for that, and we're able to just one-shot Kingambussy. Even after the Breaking Swipe, the Quark Drive and Electric Terrain boost is just way too strong. Anyway, they're going to bring in their Farigiraf here, and they're going to decide to go for a defensive Tera into Fairy type, which is sort of interesting. I guess they were predicting a Drain Punch, but Supercell Slam would still just body this Farigiraf. But they go for another Breaking Swipe, reducing my attack even further, taking more Rocky Helmet Chip, as I just go for another Sword Stance, because I figure Farigiraf really, can't do too much damage to me. And I just go for the Pain Split into the Farigiraf as well, just because Farigiraf's HP is so high and then Pincurchin's HP is so low that I basically just get healed to full anytime I target it with a Pain Split. So I just think Pain Split on Pincurchin is pretty silly, and I wanted to run that on this set as well. So they're gonna go for a Burning Bulwark here because they might be anticipating a Drain Punch into the Gouging Fire. But instead, I just go for the Acupressure into my Iron Hands, and I actually roll a defense increase, which is actually really nice for that Gouging Fire, but unfortunately the Farigiraf's gonna hit me with a Stab Psychic, do a big chunk of damage, but my Iron Hands has a lot of special defense investments, so we're able to tank it reasonably well. I'm able to go for the Drain Punch, get a little bit of health back. I probably should have clicked Supercell Slam, but on the off chance they click Protect with Farigiraf or something, I didn't want to, take half my health and recoil because Supercell Slam is a really bad move, and yeah. Regardless, I still get some HP back, I can get some leftovers recovery as well. And my Iron Hands also carries a Detect, so I'm able to go for a Detect. You can actually see 3 different Protect moves in this battle. You see Burning Bulwark, Protect, and Detect. How cool is that? Anyway, go for the Acupressure, getting a special defense increase as well, which is pretty lucky considering there is a Farigiraf trying to hit me with a Stab Psychic right now. So now I'm at +2 defense, +2 special defense, +2 attack, with a Quark Drive boost in attack. So my Iron Hands is super stacked right now. I don't need those Acupressure boosts to function with, Iron Hands. It's just like a nice benefit to my opponent setting up the Trick Room. But now I'm going to decide to go for the Terrestrialization with my Iron Hands. And we're going to Terrestrialize into a Rage Quit type because my opponent just turns off their game for some reason. But yeah, I just Terrestrialize into a Fire type to avoid any sort of burns from a potential Burning Bulwark. And yeah, that was basically my thought process, and just to take less damage from the Stab Psychic. My opponent must have realized that the Tera Fire on Iron Hands was just they were doomed, and they just decided to turn off their game. So hopefully you all enjoyed that battle featuring Swords Dance Iron Hands. I figured I would showcase Swords Dance Iron Hands because you'll basically never see a setup Iron Hands again. I'm sure the only Iron Hand set people will run in Regulation G with Restricteds will be Assault Vest next to Miraidon and stuff. So I wanted to showcase a offensive Iron Hands setup set, and I got to showcase Acupressure Pincurchin again. So hopefully you all enjoyed that battle, and let's move on to the next one. Pablo here is packing a Sun-based team with Exeggutor, which is sort of cool to see, but the rest of their team just seems pretty standard with Fluttermane and Raging Bolt to take advantage of the Sun with Photosynthesis, and then they have Incineroar just because he's handsome and really good in general, and they have Tornadus for some more speed control. So overall, a pretty threatening Sun team. I was really hoping my opponent brought Exeggutor just because Exeggutor is a fun Pokemon that no one really gets to use. I was basically expecting it just to click Chlorophyll Sleep Powder, but I still wanted to see it brought just because I do have Electric Terrain, so at the very least I have a way to block Sleep Powder. But instead they just did off a Torkoal Fluttermane, and this is how I hit rank 1 at the start of Regulation B, just by abusing Helping Hand Torkoal next to Tera Fairy Fluttermane. So I just sensed my opponent did not want me to have any fun. So instead of going for Fake Out into Torkoal, I go for Fake Out into Fluttermane, get a crit just because I read them so hard. Raichu had to crit with that Fake Out. And I go for the Light Screen, to reduce the damage output from the Flutter Mane. My Bellibolt is like a supportive set. Next turn, they just go for the Dazzling Gleam with Tera Fairy, and it still nearly one-shots my Raichu, which is absolutely insane. That must be Specs Flutter Mane, because how do you almost one-shot me through a light screen? And that was without Helping Hand as well. So I go for the Electro Web just to reduce the Flutter Mane speed stat, and we're able to activate the Eject Pack on Torkoal before it's able to throw off an Overheat. At least that's what I assume it clicked. That was the same exact set I ran on my Torkoal. I low-key inspired people on the ladder with that team, like the Torkoal Jumpluff Flutter Mane Great Tusk core, like people started using that. It was like at the start of Regulation B. I'm not going to take all credit for that core, but like I low-key must have like inspired some players with that, because it was a core people were using in the Regulation B and C before like Power Creep really took over VGC. It was just like Paradox Pokemon at the time though. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to switch out my Bellibolt and bring in Pincurchin, because they actually did bring out Exeggutor, so I don't want to get put to sleep by a Chlorophyll Sleep Powder, so I'm going to bring in my Pincurchin, set up the Electric Terrain, but somehow my Raichu is faster, and I'm able to go for Electro Web. You get another crit on Flutter Mane, but I don't think this crit mattered. Maybe like in combination with the Fake Out crit, like one of those crits mattered. But like regardless, like it's what Flutter Mane deserves. Okay, we're able to kill Flutter Mane thanks to the Electric Terrain boosting my Electro Web and the Lightning Rod boost. And the Exeggutor just clicks Psychic. I was definitely anticipating a Sleep Powder with Chlorophyll, but they were actually slower than Raichu. So I guess they are a Harvest Exeggutor set as opposed to a Chlorophyll set, which is cool. I love Harvest Exeggutor. Like it's such a fun moveset. But here I reveal that I'm filleting King's Rock on my Raichu. Now the reasoning for that is to give like Iron Hands and Cresselia more turns to set up. But my first ever VGC team actually had a Fling Raichu like next to a Gyarados. So I wanted to utilize Fling King's Rock Raichu just because it was a nice callback to like when I first got into doubles. So yeah, I go for the Pain Split with my Pincurchin into Raging Bolt. And because like Raging Bolt's HP is so high and then, you know, Pincurchin's HP stat so low, the value out of Pain Split is crazy. They go for the Draco Meteor though, and they get a crit. It definitely mattered, and I was going for another Pain Split there, so it's unfortunate, but like Pincurchin, like it kind of deserved that crit, not gonna lie, because it's just been doing too much evil stuff in this video. Like the Acupressure Evasion boost, the Acupressure like defense and special defense boosts on the Iron Hands. Like, you know what, Pincurchin, you deserve a good rest. And so does Raichu, as we're gonna get knocked out by the Giga Drain. And now I'm gonna bring in my Raging Bolts, my own Raging Bolts, and I'm also gonna bring in my Bellibolt. So I got that nice Bolt core and Raging Bolts and Bellibolt. And now they're going to switch out of their own Raging Bolt and bring back out their Torkoal because they are -2 after that Draco Meteor. Totally understandable. And they're also going to reset up the Sun, which is beneficial to me because I have Photosynthesis on my Raging Bolt as well. Gonna get a special attack increase. And now I get to showcase my tech on the Bellibolt. So I do have the Soak to turn my opponents into Water type, and I do Terastallize into Electric type as well on my Raging Bolt. So Tera Electric Rising Voltage in the Sun. Like, in Electric Terrain, like, this is so strong. Like, wow. It probably even outdamages Miraidon. It's probably close. Like, the damage output is probably close. Maybe even a little higher in combination, like, with the Electric Terrain and Photosynthesis and Rising Voltage. Like, that's crazy. But yeah. They're going to bring back out the Raging Bolt, and they already used their Tera, so they can't use Terastallization to get around Soak. So I can just basically just go for the same move again. I can go for a Soak. Draco Meteor isn't going to do too much damage because I am Assault Vest, Raging Bolt behind a light screen. Like, I am very, very specially bulky. Raging Bolt is an insanely broken Pokemon. I go for the Soak into it and the Rising Voltage with Tera Electric, Photosynthesis, Stab. Like, goodbye. Goodbye, Raging Bolt. You deserve a good rest. So down goes their Raging Bolt to my Rising Voltage. I can't believe that it's a signature move to Raging Bolt. That still makes me so mad, because, like, Raging Bolt does not need Rising Voltage. Like, give that shit to Pincurchin or a Alolan Raichu. Like, why is it signature to... Whatever, I'm done ranting. So my opponent's gonna forfeit because they don't want me to knock out their Exeggutor, which is understandable. And hopefully you all enjoy that battle featuring my Fake Out read on Flutter Mane turn 1. But more importantly, I got to showcase my, like, Soak Bellibolt next to Rising Voltage, which is really good synergy, and soaking the opponent to get rid of their immunities. It also works with Cresselia and Starred Power and stuff in case, like, I face Dark types, so yeah. Hopefully you all enjoyed that battle featuring the very broken Raging Bolt and Bellibolt, and let's move on to the next one. My next opponent today is packing that Articuno Snow team that actually won our regional with Specs Articuno. So they have a snow-based team with Articuno and Ninetales. They have Arcanine for Intimidate, Ogerpon for Redirection, Raging Bull just because it's a good Pokemon, and then they have Landorus Incarnate, who is a very big threat to this team just because, you know, we're Mono Electric. We're a bit weak to Landorus Incarnate. Surprise, surprise. And of course, my opponent recognizes that they do decide to lead off with Alola Ninetales and the Landorus Incarnate. I decided to lead off with my Raichu and Iron Hands once again, just because I want to set up some Sword stances against this bulky, you know, Aurora Veil team. I'm gonna need some damage output, and I think Cresselia is a little too slow to, you know, do work against this team. So I go for the Fake Out into Landorus to stop like an Earth Power from destroying me, as they go for the Aurora Veil to reduce some damage output on their team. And now I go for the Sword Stance with my Iron Hands, just because I need to, you know, circumvent the Aurora Veil damage decrease. And here we're gonna Terastallize into an Ice type. This is what I was talking about when I said I got rid of Encore, just because like Landorus was really like strong against my team. So I decided to pack Tera Ice Tera Blast on this Raichu just to hit ground types a little harder, and we're able to snipe the Landorus Incarnate with a Tera Ice Tera Blast. We get a crit, which most likely didn't matter because, you know, Landorus is quad weak to it. Even with Aurora Veil up, I'm sure it still dies. And now I can go for a second Sword Stance just because Landorus was not able to move. With that help, it can boosted Earth Power and one-shot my Iron Hands. I can get a second Sword Stance up and really do damage. So now they're going to decide to bring in their Articuno, the royal icon legend. We love Articuno. They're going to Tera into an Ice type, so we both have Tera Ice, which is really funny. I'm going to decide to go for the Detect here, just because I do want to reduce the speed with Electroweb, and I do think I could live a Blizzard thanks to my, you know, Tera Ice on the Raichu. So I'm thinking I should be fine. We actually flinched the Alola Ninetales with Electroweb because of my King's Rock on the Raichu. So my opponent was probably mad confused at that. They're like, how the hell did you just flinch me with Electroweb?
How'd that work?
But yeah, they go for the Blizzard. It actually does half to my Raichu, which is insane because like it's a resist, but that's Specs Tera Ice Articuno. Like, don't sleep on that damage output. But after the second Electroweb speed drop, I'm really hoping that my Iron Hands can outspeed it. And thankfully, we don't outspeed the Ninetales, but we do outspeed Articuno, and we're able to hit a Drain Punch, which is lucky because, you know, it does have Snow Cloak, and so all moves could just have a chance to miss against the Articuno, which is sort of scary, but thankfully we're able to Hate Crime and one-shot the Articuno. Well, not one-shot it, but we're able to just get all of our health back with the Drain Punch and the Leftovers recovery, and my Iron Hands is just chilling at +4 attack now in the snow, which is a pretty good feeling. And their last, I do believe, is their Raging Bolt. Yeah, they bring in the Raging Bolt here. And now I decide to reveal my King's Rock just because I'm like, I don't have to go for the Flaying King's Rock, but I figured I have to showcase I do have King's Rock Flaying after the Electroweb flinching them. Like, I have to give them some clarity. So my Iron Hand's gonna live at 69 HP, like the icon skinny legend they are. And now with +4 attack, the Drain Punch is not quite able to one-shot the Raging Bolt because Aurora Veil is set up and Raging Bolt is so bulky, but we get a lot of health back. And now I can just, oh, now my battery's low on the controller. Oop. Well, it's okay. That's fine because this battle should be over very swiftly at this point because I can just go for Tera Ice, Tera Blast. Instead I go for the Electroweb just to reduce the speed on the Raging Bolt so my Iron Hands can outspeed it, I guess. I probably should have clicked Tera Ice, Tera Blast just because like I never get to click it. Really, unless it's like against something that's quad weak to the Tera Ice, Tera Blast. But yeah, it's basically just there to take advantage of the Lightning Rod boost if I get them from like Parabolic Charge on Bellibolt or Discharge on my Pincurchin. But yeah, they go for the Draco Meteor. They do miss, unfortunately, because Iron Hands is so skinny. And they Rage Quit on me. So, yeah, that's a second Rage Quit for the books, which is kind of funny. Yeah, I wasn't expecting them to Rage Quit there. I thought they would like play it out till the end, but I guess like that Draco Meteor miss that definitely didn't matter. It was just what pushed them over the edge, and we're able to defeat our opponent thanks to the Tera Ice, Tera Blast Raichu, basically. It really came in clutch against that Landorus, and with that momentum swing, we were able to go for Electroweb, get the speed control, so my Sword Stance Iron Hands could put in the work. So yeah, hopefully you all enjoyed that battle against that Specs Articuno team. I'm glad I got to showcase at least one battle against that team because it's so iconic that Articuno got to win a regional. But yeah, let's move on to the last battle. For my final opponent, they seem to have like a pseudo Trick Room team, so they have Incineroar, of course, then they have Cresselia, Ursaluna, which is a pretty common like Trick Room core if you see them like next to each other. You can just assume Trick Room if you see like a regular Ursaluna, and Blood Moon. They also have Fluttermane, Iron Hands of their own, and they have another Fire-type Intimidator in Hisuian Arcanine. Who do you prefer in the comments, Incineroar or Hisuian Arcanine? Y'all already know my answer, let me not even get into it. Let's just get into the final battle instead, which I wasn't originally gonna showcase, but I posted a clip of this battle on Twitter, and it kind of like went viral, so I decided to include it in the video because a lot of people wanted to see like the full battle, even though it was like sort of unserious, but yeah. My opponent's going to decide to lead off with the Cress and the Flutter, as I lead off with my own Cresselia and my shiny Selfie Raichu. So I was like, okay, I could just fake out into Cresselia and prevent it from like setting up this turn, but instead I'm feeling like a little more proactive. I'm like, what's my opponent going to do? They see I have my own Cresselia and they decide to switch out into Ursaluna, probably expecting me to set up Trick Room. We're both going to Terrestrialize, they go into a Fairy type on Flutter Mane as I go into an Electric type on Cresselia. And now, I go for the fake out end of Flutter Mane once again. I go for the silly read, just because I just like know it's coming. It's like a sixth sense at this point. Like people just see like lower tier Pokemon and think that like I'm just gonna like stat diff you with Flutter Mane, and it usually works. Sometimes it backfires, and I'm on like low elo Master Ball, I think, like probably like rank like 5,000, 4,000 doing these battles. Maybe top 1,000 like once or twice. So yeah, it's not like I'm like super high elo. I don't really care about my rank, so I'll just play for the content, you know? Just like going for like Fling King's Rock, that's not really an optimal like set, but I was doing it for nostalgia because I like, that was my first like double set that I ran like on my team. But yeah, I go for Calm Mind on Cresselia. I'm just taking the opportunity to set up Calm Minds with the Fling King's Rock. That's kind of like what it's for. And the Ursaluna can't attack me with Facade this turn, but now I'm expecting them to go for a Facade because, you know, the Cresselia is setting up. I mean, it's kind of scary because Flutter Mane can't really touch it after 2 Calm Minds, especially without like a choice specs or something, because it did reveal Protect, so it's not like locked into Moonblast or anything. So I'm going to bring a Pincurchin here, expecting them to go for a Facade into my Cresselia, because with the Electric Seed boost, I should be able to tank it reasonably well. Not like amazing, because Ursaluna is very strong. Both forms just hit so incredibly hard. I do like Ursaluna as a Pokemon though. I think it's like a good like evolution, and it allows like Ursaring itself to be more viable in lower tiers because of like Eviolite and stuff, so it's cool. But yeah, they go for the Earthquake as opposed to the Facade as they switch into their Cresselia, which was a pretty good play. We both avoid it with Levitate, but unfortunately Pincurchin is gonna get obliterated. So we can't go for any Acupressures this game, or like, you know, a Pain Split. Sadly, like, I should have just waited for the Trick Room to go up because that's what my opponent is like aiming for at this point, but I was just like, I needed that defense boost for the Facade, that's what I was thinking. And then like after, I might have like switched back out into Raichu, expecting like Trick Room. I don't know. I was just like, I did not expect them to click Earthquake there, but they did, and my Pincurchin gets hate cried. But it's okay, because I can bring in Bellibolt. I go for Reflect, because now they Protect, because they're like, well, I can set up my Trick Room, so I predict that and go for Calm Mind and Reflect, expecting them to go for the Protect Trick Room play. Set up the Calm Mind with my Cresselia, so now I have a +3 special attack, special defense, as they do set up the Trick Room, so if I kept my Pincurchin, I would be able to just bring it in and then go for the Acupressure, so I sort of like misplay. See, like, Poketubers don't play perfectly, you know? Sometimes we make mistakes, but whatever. They're gonna switch out their Ursaluna here, even though they just set up Trick Room. Very interesting play. I'm like, why would you do that? Like, now's your chance to attack me, right? But they bring in their Flutter Mane, realizing like, I don't need this bitch anymore. Like, I don't know why they did this. There's a reason why I was like debating on showing this battle, just because it's so unserious. I go for Stored Power into Cresselia, as they go for Lunar Blessing, so like they could have just attacked with Ursaluna, right? And then gotten some health back, and then probably lived that turn maybe? I'm not too sure, but they bring in their Flutter Mane, and I'm just going to stall out Trick Room chains at this point, because, I mean, if you're not going to attack with Ursaluna, then I'm just going to fake out and Stored Power with Flutter Mane, and just knock it out. Like, why would you just switch out Ursaluna and then set up Trick Room? And then, they go for Lunar Dance. I'm like, bitch, why? That gagged me. I'm like, I thought I was the only person who would consider running Lunar Dance on a Cresselia set, because I did use that like skill swap dancer meme team and Doubles OU. That was really silly and unserious, but like they're just actually using Lunar Dance and Lunar Blessing. Like, wow. And we like wait for a while for my opponent to send out their Pokemon. They bring in Ursaluna, and Ursaluna will get healed by that Lunar Dance, and they're gonna bring in their last, which is Iron Hands, and Ursaluna's gonna go for a little spin, and then get like all of its health back. Lunar Dance is a cool move, but it's just like, why do you have it? I know like I'm not the one to talk because I ran it before, so I checked my stats. I'm like, okay, I can just Stored Power into the Iron Hands, and I can't even like hurt me too much because of my defense boost and the Reflect. So I bring in my Bellibolt, expecting them to maybe go for a Drain Punch into that slot, or like a fake out into Raichu. They tried to Headlong Rush my Cresselia, even though they saw Levitate like 5 times because they have their own Cresselia. I don't know. Maybe they thought Headlong Rush was 1,000 arrows and it hits past Levitate. I really don't know. my opponent is, I don't know, maybe they timed out and I wasn't paying attention to like how long it took them to make their turn, but either way, I'm just like gagged in this battle right now. I was just like really out of it, and this battle's so weird. So now they finally go for the Facade. It doesn't do that much damage thanks to the Reflect and the Electric Seed, but if they did that a few turns sooner, maybe they'd be able to take down my Crest, but they just decided to switch out while Trick Room is up, and I'm able to store power and one-shot the Iron Hands, and I'm like, okay, they don't have a way to stop Trick Room anymore, because they knocked out their own Cresselia. So like, and I have Fake Out pressure. And so I'm thinking to myself, this battle is so unserious. Like, I could just end them with Fake Out stored power and the game's over. But I also think that like my opponent sees that and they're going to concede. And so I predict them to go for the forfeit. And I go for my own forfeit. And so we end up in a draw. So I predicted my opponent to go for the forfeit, went for my own forfeit so we can draw, because neither of us deserve to win that game. But yeah, like that battle was just so wacky, and I wanted to showcase it because I thought it was really funny. And you know, look at my rank 6,000, girl. Like, let me not talk about my rank. Let's move on to the rental code. I do not recommend you try this team out on the ranked ladder. Like, it was made in Regulation F, and we're currently in Regulation G, and yeah, you could put an 8 in between there and be like, yeah, this is my restricted legendary. I'm gonna use Cresselia and set up and win. Well, no, you're not, girl. Calyrex is going to destroy you. But, you know, it was a fun team in Regulation F, and if you want to, like, try it out against your friends or on the casual ladder, or you want to just use it on the doubles OU ladder, maybe it could work. I don't know. I'll leave the link to the Pokebase in the description, and you can also, like, download it in-game for probably, like, a month until the code expires. Maybe even longer than that. It depends on how many teams I upload. With my upload consistency, that code will probably be valid for a while. That's all I'll say. I pretty much got to showcase everything I wanted to with this team, outside of, like, you know, Toxic Spikes on Pincurchin, which is sort of, like, straightforward and boring. It's just like passive damage on the opponent, so you know, Cresselia and Iron Hands and Raging Bolt can just be more valid when cons. But yeah, that will do it for me. Thank you so much for watching until the end of the video. Make sure to join my Discord server if you know, want a place to hang out, talk about Pokemon, and if you need to get into contact with me, I also have Twitter. I'll leave links to those in the description. Thank you so much for watching until the end of the video. If you watched to this point in the video, make sure to let me know in the comments what sort of, you know, team you want to see for Mono Grass or strategy, because you're probably like the most interested in that if you've watched this point in the video. And yeah, I'll check you all in my next video. Bye.